You are listening to the Final Say Radio Show, a Rappaport media production, with your host Brett Rappaport and co-host John Rappaport.
I was introduced to a gentleman I spoke to last week, and I really was excited to have Danny come and join us on the show today, because Danny, to me, is the epitome of an innovator. You know, Danny had an issue, which he'll speak with us shortly, and Danny didn't look for somebody else to solve a problem. Danny stepped up to the plate, started a company, and took to the good old, the number one thing that we love to speak about is the cure to all problems, innovation. So Danny Oberman, who is the founder of a terrific new startup out of Israel called CathMaps. So Danny, first, welcome to the Final Say radio program, and please introduce our fans to your company and tell us very succinctly. You had an interesting personal challenge or tragedy, and you turned it into brilliant innovation, which hopefully will affect hundreds of millions of lives in the future. Danny, welcome to the Final Say.
Thanks very much for having me on your program this afternoon. Here in Jerusalem, it's no rain for us for quite a few weeks, so we're in quite a different position to what you've been going through. But back to what I've been doing, a little bit about myself. I've been involved in different businesses over the years, but in June last year, I had a heart attack, and within about an hour and a half, I was already in the catheterization lab. That's where most heart attack victims are treated, with angioplasty or stents, things which most people have heard of. And it's a very special treatment. It requires highly qualified cardiologists and also special equipment, and not all hospitals have cath labs to treat heart attack victims. So I was in the hospital for about just over a day, and the treatment was successful, and I felt pretty good. On leaving the hospital, I met my cardiologist, and he said, "Well, Danny, there's a chance this isn't the last time you're going to be having a heart issue, and you'd better walk around with your medical records on you. You know, things like a copy of your last EKG, copy of medications, and also, you know, details of what stent you have." And because cardiac patients, unlike many people, they don't go to the hospital they were treated at last time. They go to the nearest hospital, and not just any hospital. They go to the hospital which has a cath lab. So, and there's a pretty fair chance that hospital does not have their medical records, and this is one of the weaknesses in most countries. And certainly on an international level, there's no real good sharing of medical records between hospitals. And so I said to myself, look, it doesn't sound right. There has to be something better than walking around with pieces of paper in your pocket for the rest of my life. And I did a little homework. I couldn't come up with any solution that I could find online, and so I had an idea that I think it was appropriate with technology at the levels it is today, and most people carrying around smartphones, that an app, a really simple app, could be developed for this need. And so I spec'd the app, and this being Israel, you know, we talked, you know, to our friends who are in high tech. I took on set up a little company, gave some equity to an individual. She's a tech wizard. I gave another little bit of equity to a PR marketing wizard, and we put together a little company, raised some money. I actually had some cardiologists get involved and support the effort because they thought it was a good idea too, and spec the product, spec the app, did the development with the software company here in Israel, and kind of long story short, we launched the product just last week. And it's called CathMaps Plus, and it actually does two things. Well, three. One, it's simply keeping your medical records. You can just take a picture of your last EKG, and it's on the app. You can take a picture of your release documents from the hospital when you last had, if you had a cardiac event, and you can list your medications there. This is all for people who've had a cardiac event in the past. And there is a probability, unfortunately not a small probability, that they'll have some cardiac event sometime in the future, and there's no reason they shouldn't be prepared. And the second thing I did, since I like to travel, I said, look, I need to know which hospitals have cath labs, since it was clear to me not all hospitals do. And so I spent a few months and outsourced different researchers around the world, a lot of them former medical people, retired nurses or people, some medical students, to map cath labs, hospitals with cath labs around the world. And that was tedious but necessary work, and we've completed it for most of the world has been mapped, everywhere from, of course, the United States and Canada, all of Western Europe, France to Scandinavia, Russia, Ukraine, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Israel, of course, and a few other countries. And so that people, in planning ahead their travels, if they have a cardiac history, they can do a little bit of homework and say, look, I know what to do if I get into trouble. This is the hospital I have to get to. So that's a very simple GPS-based search. The phone will identify where you are, and it'll tell you where the nearest 3 hospitals are. And then you can hook up to your Waze or your Google Maps, whatever navigation program you're running, and it will give you directions how to get there. But the normal thing to do, and the best thing to do when having a cardiac event, of course, is to call an ambulance. But this is in that twilight zone. We're not sure, is it something, isn't it something, maybe I need to plan ahead. You have the tool now to be able to do that homework and have the medical records with you. So that's basically the app.
Right, and this is what's brilliant, is even if you call an ambulance, the application has tremendous value. It has value to the patient. It has value to the triage caregiver, the long-term caregiver, to the family members, et cetera. I want to point something out, is something as simple as an aspirin in a hospital could average $30, right, in an ER. What is the price of your application, which could very much save somebody's life or greatly reduce the stress of an otherwise deadly and potentially deadly and certainly a very stressful scenario? So what is the cost of your application to the consumer?
Well, the application is $4.99, but this being American Heart Month, February, we're giving it away for free, also because of the launch. So at the moment it's for free. On the it's an iPhone version and there's an Android version. So you can go to our website, CathMaps.com, and click on the relevant stores and just search for CathMaps, and you can download it to your phone for free, and then spend a few minutes putting in your medical records. It was also clear to us in designing the app that this is not an app for young kids. It's an app for most people over the age of 50 who have a cardiac history. So it's very, very clear, simple to use, simple instructions, and very, very simple in an emergency to get to access the medical records. And it's HIPAA compliant. HIPAA is the American government's regulations on storing medical records, and we're fully compliant with all these security issues on keeping medical records in the correct manner. It's an informational tool, this app. It's not a medical device, so we didn't need FDA approval. It's just simple information that people can have with them. But like I said before, the important thing to do when feeling symptoms, call an ambulance. This is just a tool to give you a little comfort that you know what's happening, where you're going, where you should be going.
Now, Danny, as I said in the intro, what excites me about this is something I don't know of anybody who hasn't been affected by a heart attack. I mean, you sadly yourself were affected personally, although you ended up you're doing fine health-wise, and you potentially, by the time your company matures, I guarantee you will go to bed at night knowing you have saved many lives, and I think that's wonderful. But you've done so on a typical innovative shoestring budget. I was watching the news this morning about we have individual states alone who have spent hundreds of millions of dollars of government funding, and Danny, they can't even launch a website to go find insurance. I'm going to guess, and you don't have to divulge any private information, but I'm going to guess that you've probably spent less than $1 million so far to deliver a life-saving app that literally could affect the lives of virtually every adult, directly or indirectly. When you think of the family members this could affect. So kudos to you, Danny.
Thank you. It was a lot. The investment was a lot less than that, actually. It was really done on a shoestring. And at the moment, we're ramping up our marketing and marketing efforts to try and get the word out there, because it's really a no-brainer. If somebody has a cardiac history, they really should have this app. They need to have their medical records with them. The doctors who treat them in the ER, the cardiologists who to treat them in the cath lab need this information, and and the odds are, if somebody has a cardiac history, they're showing up at a hospital and they've never been there before. And
Danny, what kind of?
It's just.
I'm sorry. What kind of hindrances or challenges are you facing from a regulatory standpoint? Are there hurdles or barriers that you have to come over that would make it more difficult for the people who need an application like this to get it, or is it as simple as download and go?
The application itself is very simple, and you can just download it and go. One of the challenges we had was with the HIPAA regulations. These regulations guaranteeing people's privacy and the sharing of medical records is very, very regulated in the United States. And in some of the feedback we've gotten, some of the focus groups we got, people said, well, we really do not want to have a password on this app, because we just want to be able to hand the phone to the doctor, and he should be able to look at the records. And the law obviously did not have the foresight to envision a situation like this. And we were told, sorry, the person does not have the choice. There has to be a password there. It's not up to them. And so, regulatory issues, it's a challenge. We got around it by letting people share their medical records with their spouse or with somebody who might be accompanying them to the ER, and they can hand over the medical records if the person's incapacitated or whatever the case may be. Or you can email the medical records to the hospital on the way to the hospital. But this was just a small example. We're an Israeli company, and Israel is very, startups here, as you probably know, it's mushrooming. And so here, there's far less regulatory issues that we have to deal with in starting, building a company and hiring people. It's really very, very quick, and there's a lot of talent here. So overall, it's been developing it has been a lot of fun, honestly.
Well, I tell you what, I'm sure our fans have picked up that you represent two of our favorite countries here in the final say. You clearly have an accent from Australia or New Zealand. I'm assuming Australia.
Australia, you're right.
Right.
Yeah. Came to Israel when I was 18.
Oh, excellent. And of course we're big fans and supporters of Israel on the show, because despite a lot of bad PR the country is getting, unfortunately, in the world, Israel is a truly amazing place because it is a country of entrepreneurs. I mean, the entire country survives and thrives for much of the same reason America does, because people who came there were, by and large, the entrepreneurs of their time, whether it was simply because they were running from other places to try to survive, but basically that sort of connective tissue that embodies Israel and America is extremely innovative. And I really want to have you on the show because I love this technology. I want to share a quick story with you. I had an incident that's already probably 20 some odd years ago. I read an article in a men's journal magazine. I was getting ready to head out the door to catch an airplane and just had a few minutes, so I read this article. I tore it out, kept the magazine, handed it to my father who had a card game that night, and I insisted he read it. I said, Dad, this has some interesting information that I had never seen before. He happened to read it. During the card game, one of his friends had a massive heart attack. They're best of friends today. They were casual friends back then. All the other four men at the table were doing what guys often do, ribbing and teasing their friend. Oh, you wuss, you wimp, have another potato chip. You just need another beer. You need, outgas. You'll be fine. My dad, called BS on it and said, no, I think this is serious, and threw him in the car, drove him to the hospital where he had a massive heart attack. And the doctor said this heart attack was so bad, had he had it anywhere but in the hospital or in an ambulance, there's not a chance he would survive. And it was I call it divine intervention, good faith. What it showed me is that these types of things are fabulous because you don't have a heart attack and then go, oh, where could I get this information or this application? This is a no-brainer to download and have in your phone, because if you don't need it, somebody else may very well need it, who might be your best friend, might be your father. That could have just easily been my dad. So I think this is fabulous work you're doing, and I hope you have tremendous success with the company.
Thank you so much. Look, CathMaps.com is the place. We want feedback. We're looking forward to to developing the next generation of product. We have a few ideas on where it should go. Mobile technology is moving at an incredible pace, and we have some ideas of what we'll be doing next. Which, if you don't mind, I won't share with the audience at this stage.
I think first off, we need to encourage all of fans of the Final Say. This is an application. I just gave you you just heard two of us with very personal stories of where these types of things could save a life. A life you may save again could be your own. Even free is great, but quite frankly, Danny, we'd like to see people pay for this app. $4.95. You're talking for the cost of a cup of Starbucks coffee. You're not talking once a month. You're talking a single one-time app purchase of $4.95, correct?
Correct. That's correct. $4.99. That's correct. As of March 1st, that'll be the cost. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think it's terrific. We wish you tremendous success with this. I would definitely like to follow up with you and hear how this goes. And again, I do appreciate you joining us on the show, because we spend a lot of time giving people the mechanics of the importance of the private sector and innovation. But it's great to have guests come on who actually show people how innovation works and how inexpensively people could truly make a difference and do so at scale. Danny Oberman. Yes.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to jump in real quick on just one thing. And Danny, I've been listening to this, and I think it's fantastic. John and I regularly speak with members of Congress who are and have been doctors and even nurses, and they're constantly looking for innovative ideas such as yours or solutions to common problems that they've experienced or that they see in the different constituents they meet with or different people they meet with. And we are certainly going to share this with them. And, the bottom line is that everybody has a medical history and everybody has a need for dealing with medical issues. And without innovation, without, the idea of free markets and guys such as yourself taking upon an issue and trying to come up with a solution, we're not going to have good ones. And I think, the most important point to make here is members of Congress don't often come up with the solutions. They hear them from their constituents and the businesses or innovators that they come across and speak with on a day in and day out basis. And by, introducing your story to us and us introducing your story to other people, I think it's good for everyone in dealing with what is, an extremely important and serious, issue. And so I just want to say that, but I also want to thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your compliments, and I'm honored that you think it's worthwhile taking to the American Congress or friends of yours who are in Congress. Really, I appreciate that.
Well, we'd be happy to, and I will say it's important also. These are the folks who either will with political motivation, make the mistakes of creating barriers potentially to success, as you just described with some of the privacy challenges, or could actually look at things like this as the poster child for how to do things right and where and when government needs to regulate for safety purposes, as opposed to where and when, as is often the case, government really needs to get out of your way and let innovators go ahead and do what they do, which is innovate. So again, Danny, thank you so much for joining us today on the Final Say radio program. Good luck, and again, sleep well at night, my friend, because I have a funny feeling you're going to save a lot of lives stemming from your own personal tragedy. And we just love innovators here on the Final Say. So thanks again for joining us. And ladies and gentlemen,
thank you very much for having me.
It was absolutely our pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, again, you can download this application at CathMaps, and I will spell it for you, CathMaps, I can spell, .com, CathMaps.com. Jump in quick now while you can get it for free, but if you're like me, you would get it for free and still write a $4.99 check to Danny Oberman and his folks, because I tell you what, this is a great product.